You saw it first on TFL Truck. Over the last 14 years, we've done many earthbound pickup truck reviews, but now I introduce you to the space truck. I'm here at Lunar Outpost, and we're gonna learn everything there is to know about what makes a truck for the moon possible and doable. So let's meet Justin and the team, and let's get going. Justin, thank you so much for having us here.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Andre.
This is pretty incredible. So before we show the big Rover, right,
Yep.
Eagle, let's kind of go over some of the other, work you have been doing in the past, and
Sure.
and kind of your development process, and a lot of awesome things you have here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is ARAM. So this is one of our medium class rovers, fully autonomous, mainly for building infrastructure. So this specific robot was actually for building and maintaining solar farms fully autonomously. So it was built under a DoD contract, and it was really focused on building infrastructure. And this was the gap that kind of bridged our smaller rovers that are heading to the moon first to the bigger Eagle vehicle, which you'll be seeing later.
Yeah. All right. And what is going on here? You have a little test bed.
Yeah.
Literally.
So this is Crater Beach.
Okay.
So where we start in the process in design of any of our vehicles is in kind of virtual in the simulated environment. Where we go next is really just getting it into the real world and testing the best we can. So here we have top-down tracking, which is 1 centimeter accuracy, so we know where the robot is at in Crater Beach. This guy is more or less going to be searching in a not predefined pattern, not something the human's telling it to do, just fully autonomously. So this robot is going to decide where it's going, how it explores that environment, which is kind of taking that next step beyond what the old rovers used to do, which was waypoint driving.
He's looking at the rock, I think.
He is looking at the rock. And then he's going to plan his way around the rock.
Yeah, I think here's the next target.
He sees you. And so if you actually put your foot in front of him, and then he will stop, and now if you move, he will start going again. He knows you're a human. He knows you're not a static rock or like a part of the environment. And that's one cool thing about these robotic systems. Like, they're a lot more intelligent than just those kind of predefined, as I was saying, the old waypoint driving types of systems.
I'm Alistair Garnett. I'm a robotics engineer at Lunar Outpost, and this is the Hound Rover. We use these in the NASA Break the Ice Challenge, which has been running for the last couple of years.
So these are now sizable machines. I mean, I don't know, this is like a commercial lawnmower. I mean, size, you know what I'm saying? Like something that kind of mows your soccer field.
Yeah, they're pretty sizable, pretty torquey. I mean, these vehicles can travel over 30 miles per hour, and they can go up about 45-degree grades. So they're pretty capable in their own right.
And what is the challenge? Can you explain the challenge a little bit more?
Yeah, so the Break the Ice Challenge for NASA, it was to go excavate 12 metric tons of simulated ice on the lunar surface. So to break up the ice with the jackhammer you see on the back there, and then to pick it up and bring it back to a processing facility that was mocked up.
And then basically these machines were performing that task.
Yep, these machines, so the challenge really was to limit human interaction. It was supposed to be done fully robotically, and it was a pretty exciting challenge. So,
But I can drive it myself?
You can drive it with an Xbox controller.
You're trusting me this? Okay.
It has some sharp edges.
And a jackhammer.
And a jackhammer.
Great. So how do we do this?
Exercise caution.
So you can take a look at this as well. This is what we basically use for long distance manual control.
Okay.
So you have 4 camera live streams that are real time, like 0.025 second latency. That is forward and this is reverse.
I gotcha.
And then you can use the stick as well to turn.
The left stick?
Yeah.
So there is a lot of power here because it also needs to move a payload, right?
Yep. It needs to move a lot of material very quickly.
And it's basically doing a tank turret, so it's 4 motors then.
Yep.
Now this is the big boy, this is Eagle.
This is Eagle.
And this is built in what material? I mean,
Yep.
its actual size it would be?
This
right?
is the actual size.
Okay.
1-for-1 actual size of what's heading to the lunar surface. And as you can tell, like a lot of this is metal. This is a very tough, a very reliable, and a very safe vehicle. So this can not only operate, here on Earth, but this can survive being launched into space with the giant rockets, but landing on the moon and surviving there for over 15 years without really any maintenance.
All right, let's show some of the progression first, because you have another prototype kind of
Yeah.
you've built.
Yeah,
So
let's
kind
do
of
it.
like how it started and how it's going, basically.
Sounds good. So this is our lo-fi mock-up. So very similar to the automotive industry, we do things quick, fast, iterate on it, just so we can figure things out. So this is all built out of wood and 80/20 aluminum. This gives us an idea of the form, fit, and function in kind of a rough scale. So everything from where the handles are, to how many steps we want, to how you can enter and exit the vehicle. So if you want to get in, Andre, go for it. So it gives a sense of also the size of the spacesuits, how wide this vehicle actually needs to be, given these spacesuits are fairly wide themselves, the visual acuity, just your perception of what you can see around the vehicle. We also test out, early displays and controls, where the controls actually are, and then everything to small pieces of just highlight features like these workbenches that you see on the side of the vehicle.
Gotcha. And we could show these for now.
Yeah.
And then we can see actually your high fidelity or hi-fi
Awesome.
prototype as well.
So this is where we start brainstorming the ideas, right? Where are we going to put the tools that astronauts use? Where is the cold storage for these types of vehicles? And then also just where we put large cargo. So there are some requirements as a part of this contract with NASA to have very large pieces of cargo in this vehicle. And so this is an actual functional truck bed, right? It's not just for show, it's not for just science instruments. Like, we need to put large pieces of cargo in and out of this vehicle.
And because some of the missions include building infrastructure on the moon,
Yep,
right?
Exactly. And that's what differentiates this vehicle from anything else that has already gone into space. This is a space truck. Like, true to the name, it's going to enable humans to build the power, the communications, and the habitats, like the actual habitats on the lunar surface. And that's what this vehicle is going to be used for.
Love it. All right, so obviously these are not the tires it'll be rolling on.
They're not. Yeah, so these are pneumatic tires. What you see here on Earth for off-roading vehicles. We are partnered with Goodyear, so they have these pretty awesome metallic tires that are kind of woven together that give us great traction on the lunar surface and that are very low maintenance. So you never get a flat tire on the moon, which is fantastic, and it puts you in a situation where you get a lot of traction out of these size tires.
But this is kind of the scale and size.
This is scale and size. So it is a little bit smaller than this, but not too much. But this is almost 1-for-1, exactly what the form, fit, and function is going to be.
And you were telling me earlier, so the design of the suspension is for the fender to move with the wheel and tire.
Exactly, and that's actually a pretty unique feature of this vehicle, mainly just because on the moon, the lunar regolith is very dangerous to astronauts. It's electrostatic, so it can get stuck everywhere, and if you look at the old Apollo pictures, there's pictures of them absolutely covered in this lunar dust. So this fender prevents us not only coating our solar panels, but also prevents us just kicking up extra dust. So that's why we have the fender actually move with the tire, so we can get plenty of wheel travel.
And also the space is a little bit narrow, so
exactly,
to protect against that dust again.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we keep it very narrow to protect against that dust, and then we just allow the fender to travel with it, so we keep that wheel travel.
All right, well, let's start here.
Yeah.
And you told me I can also put on a spacesuit.
Absolutely.
So maybe I can do that also and then try to get in with a spacesuit, because that's a whole different game, right?
It's a whole different game. I mean, a spacesuit, especially these spacesuits, their entire space flight vehicles themselves, right? If you think about it in that way, they have your life support systems, they have communications, they have your own interfaces that you have to worry about. So when you get in a spacesuit and you get in a vehicle, it's a much different experience than when you're just getting into a vehicle, dressed like this.
And why not have like an enclosed cabin?
Yeah.
Right? Because you could enter maybe without a spacesuit. I mean, there's weight considerations. What are some of the considerations there?
So there are weight considerations, but it's also if you're looking at the purpose and use of the vehicle. So Lunar Terrain Vehicle, which is the program name, Lunar Terrain Vehicle, LTV, for NASA is mainly about being that space truck. So it's hard work, it's dirty work, but you need to do it safe. It's not a luxury truck. It's not a luxury truck. Like this is to go get the job done, safely transport astronauts on the lunar surface, but then also be that truck, right? So if you get a little bit of dust in here, it's not a problem. If you imagine getting mud on your off-roader, right? Like you don't really worry about it because it's an off-road trail truck. It's almost like a badge of honor. Same thing here. Whereas if you have a pressurized vehicle, so an enclosed cabin, anytime you get dust into that pressurized
Space.
cabin, it's very dangerous for the astronauts to inhale and breathe that out. So you have to have a lot of filtration systems. You have to have a lot of other systems in place to make that safe for astronauts long term.
So you're not just increasing complexity just a little bit, you're exploding the complexity of it.
Exploding the complexity, exploding the cost, and exploding the timelines in which you can get these vehicles delivered. Because we're sending our first robots to space here in a couple months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you explain that? Where are they going and on which rockets, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. So our first mission is launching on a SpaceX Falcon 9, landing on an Intuitive Machines Nova C lander. It's going to be the first robotic rover, commercial rover ever on the lunar surface, and it's going to be the first robotic rover at the lunar South Pole. So we're going to be collecting resources and selling them back to NASA, which is pretty awesome. So it'll be the first sale of space resources as well.
Sweet.
Which we're pretty excited about.
And that's happening within a couple months, you're saying?
2 months.
Not like 100 years in the future. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's happening now.
Yep.
I want to talk about General Motors because you also
Yes.
partnered with them.
Yep.
And then kind of get into some of the details. I'm already excited by the hitch. Tell me about GM and that kind of partnership there.
Yeah, so with General Motors, they bring just an absolute massive order of magnitude of automotive experience on how to make good quality vehicles that last for long periods of time. And so with General Motors, they're helping us out everything from driving dynamics on the vehicle to their ultium battery packs. They've done a lot of work on their electric vehicles back here on Earth. And also, not a lot of people know this, but GM actually helped they made the Apollo LRV back in the day.
Really?
So they do have spaceflight heritage.
You mentioned batteries. So this is a battery electric vehicle then.
This is
and
a
let's talk
battery
about
electric.
motors and kind of how that interacts together.
Yeah, so this vehicle has 4 motors, one for each wheel, and that gives us a massive amount of torque, which is needed on the lunar surface because imagine very similar to a sand dune, just a little bit more extreme, like you need torque to properly operate in those environments. There's large rocks that this vehicle has to get over. It has to go down into craters, permanently shadowed regions. So being able to get safely in and out of those craters with plenty of margin on your torque is required, and that's why we have 4 motors.
Okay, and before, when I was coming here, I was also imagining like a hydrogen fuel cell powertrain, because I know GM has been working on that for many, many years as well.
Yeah.
Tell me about hydrogen fuel cells, and it's not in this vehicle concept.
Not on this vehicle concept. I love hydrogen fuel cells for future vehicles on the lunar surface because there is water on the moon that can be extracted just by heating up the regolith and combining a few of the volatiles together, or actually extracting water ice in these permanently shadowed regions. So for future refuelable architectures on the lunar surface, it makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
For this vehicle though, it is electric. So you can see the solar panels, deployable solar panels in the back.
And on the top, I'm assuming?
the top,
Okay.
Yep, exactly. So back on the top. So this vehicle can survive and thrive without any supporting infrastructure on the lunar surface, fully rechargeable via solar, but also it has a pretty meaty power charging interface that allows us to put a lot of power into this thing quickly. And also when we do have that interface on the lunar surface, it allows us to leverage infrastructure as that gets built up over time.
So what are some of the operating times? Like operating time, maybe about 2 hours.
Yeah, so
per charge. I'm just looking at the cheat sheet here.
Yeah, so NASA's set the minimum, and really kind of what we gave you guys on that cheat sheet. NASA set a lot of these minimums to the point where this is what we have to do to compete, and this is what we have to do to go put this rover on the lunar surface. Now that being said, a lot of the technologies we have on board this rover allow us to exceed those minimums. So there's a lot of things like, hey, 2 hours continuous, great, we're gonna go pretty far beyond that. The 30-kilometer traverse distance, we can go pretty far beyond that. But it is one of those things, we're keeping some of those specs a little close to the chest because we're in phase one and competing against some of these other companies.
I understand. But the idea is that the vehicle has its own solar array, so it can kind of charge or recharge on itself, but you said it can also receive an electricity from another source.
That's exactly it. Yeah. I mean, this vehicle can be plugged into infrastructure, but this vehicle can also be dropped on the lunar surface in one of the most extreme environments of the solar system and operate without any support. So it can just be dropped there, safely transport the astronauts, and help you build that infrastructure over time.
All right, let's get into it before I suit up, because I want to see the difference, right?
Cool.
With and without. So
Sounds good.
First of all, 2 different ways of deploying steps.
Yep, 2 different ways of deploying steps. So you can either deploy them from the outside, like I just did, with a handle, or actually, Andre, if you grab that, just move it over.
Way.
Yeah, move it over, and then you can lower it down as well. So we tried to provide astronauts multiple ways of getting in and getting out of the vehicle, not only for redundancy and reliability, but just also for preferences. Because when you have those spacesuits on, it feels very different than just being in these clothes.
And I've noticed this is kind of a low step-in height.
It is.
Because I'm assuming the suit may be different, right?
Yep.
How you can kind of move around.
Yeah, these are pressurized suits that they're going to be on the lunar surface. So it is a more constrained movement than, again, like I said, a lot of the clothes we have here on Earth. So it is going to be a little bit different. But with these, you have multiple ways to get in and out of the vehicle. And then also with these seats, they are extra wide, as you'll notice, but that's also because of the suit.
Yeah.
Right? These are very wide suits. As I said, they're spacecraft in and of their own right, so we wanted to make sure the astronauts are comfortable and have the room.
You're just going to step in.
Step in there.
Kind of slide it up around.
I haven't exercised in a while. Is that okay?
That'll be fine.
Okay.
You might have to wiggle a bit, but it'll work.
Okay.
So then you're going to get both arms through, and then I'm going to come around the back. I'm going to put these over your shoulders and adjust it so that it sits right on your body. Right.
So, like right now, I step into it?
Go ahead.
Okay. Can I hug you?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, sorry.
It's kind of tough. Don't worry.
We haven't met before, but
I want to pull it a little higher.
yeah.
There you go.
Or maybe am I too big?
I think you might be okay. I think you might have to shimmy a little bit. I can help
Can
on
you
the
help
other
me?
side. Yep.
We're all friends here.
Sounds good. Yeah, they are a little
tough.
Yeah, tight. And no worries if it's a little too tight. Oh, good. There we go.
Okay.
All right, and then we can
You can push.
Okay, sounds good.
wiggle your shoulders in.
Nice. There we
There
go.
you go. Okay.
So I will never get out of this.
Nope, that's all right.
Okay.
Awesome. So this is getting us as close to the suits without actually having the suits. Gives you an idea of the range of motion. And as you'll notice, like, it feels a little bit
can't
awkward.
put my hands too far down.
Right.
Yeah, so they're kind of up here, which
Yeah.
kind of makes sense.
And as you have those kind of movement joints, and here we really highlighted the shoulder ones, but you also have some elbow ones, you have some ones on the wrist on the actual spacesuit.
And the glove.
And
Yeah,
the glove.
Yeah.
That really starts limiting your range of motion. And so when you create these vehicles, you have to create them with your astronaut in mind and the capabilities of the spacesuit as well.
All right, I'm going to try to get in there. Well, first of all, I'm going to operate the step.
Awesome.
Let me close it. Let me close it. Should I put some gloves on?
That's up to you.
Let me try it. Yeah.
It'll be a bit more of a close representation of what an astronaut might feel.
Okay. Nice winter gloves.
Yep.
Really, really thick. So I can grab this, lower it down.
Awesome.
Oh, my posture is much better. Thank you. I see now what you were saying. Right, the way that my shoulder moves now,
Yep.
and the way that I could still grab the handle, could still operate it. And you said this moves. You could adjust this forward and back.
You can adjust it forward and back. So NASA's requirement, we have to make this accessible to really any height, weight person. So everything from your 5% female all the way up to your 95% male on height has to be able to utilize this vehicle. So there's a lot of adjustability kind of baked in, everything from the displays and controls to your seat back to where actually the seats are as well. But if you actually sit a little bit further back in the seat, you'll get a sense for the, yeah, exactly.
Like this?
Yeah, perfect. And so that should offload some of the weight for you.
Oh yeah, I can feel it.
So that's, especially with these big heavy suits, once you actually get like a functional life support system, that is a lot of weight for the astronaut to carry around for a long time, even in 1/6 gravity. So having just a little bit of a rest for the life support system, the PLIS as they call it, allows the astronaut to be more comfortable over time. So all you do is loosen this up, and we did oversize the adjustment mechanisms as well.
Okay.
So it's a very easy process, a very easy thing to move.
Yeah.
So that way, for someone Andre's height, you now have something that's a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, before it was kind of back here.
Yeah.
My arm was as far back as possible, but now it's a little bit more comfy. I can go like this.
Exactly.
So that's a little bit better. Yeah, that's nice. And I don't know, I'm 6'3", I'm almost 6'3", so I'm pretty tall and
You're a pretty tall guy.
and fat, so I'm kind of large.
Yeah. And I mean, if you reach up to the handles, I'm actually kind of curious with your height, like, is that a comfortable size handle getting
Oh yeah,
perfect? Yeah.
you could show that here.
And
Yeah,
so
that's great.
awesome.
And also here, let me see. I mean, I'm not wearing the pants, but
Yeah.
I can get up. I can get up using this handle too. So that seems fine.
Awesome.
You can kind of move these seats around.
Yep.
And also they will tilt forward a little bit to help you get out, right?
This is one of the cool parts, Andre, astronaut assist. So just because those suits are a little bit, yeah, they're a little hard to move around, and astronaut assist actually pushes you up a little bit. So when you need to, you basically flip one of the switches, pushes you up, and it makes it easier to grab on the rail. So that way it's easier for the astronaut to get in and out of the vehicle. I mean, especially if you watch some of the videos of suit testing or even the old Apollo videos of how they used to have to get up like after they fell down on the lunar surface.
Yeah, that doesn't look pretty.
It's not pretty, yeah. It's difficult. So we tried to make the astronaut lives as easy as possible. So everything from armrest to astronaut assist on the seats to actually life support, pack support kind of
right
on the back.
Okay.
Exactly.
And how much weight? I mean, I'm trying to understand all the stuff. There's like, I'm drinking from a fire hose right now, right?
Yeah.
The gravity is different on the moon, right?
Gravity's
it's about
different.
1/6 of Earth.
Yep.
And then, so that makes it easier for the vehicle in a way, but also hard to test, right?
Hard to test.
Because we're here with, the vehicle being, the way it weighs here on Earth versus on the moon.
Exactly. And I think this is something that our team uniquely brings to the table. So we've done a lot of not only testing like you guys just saw in the sandpit, but we've done a lot of testing in gravity offloaded environments. So NASA down at Johnson Space Center has this huge facility. It's called Argos, and they're building a new one right next to it as well that's even bigger, that you can put vehicles of this size and scale and actually gravity offload them. So you can test everything from wheel traction to vehicle dynamics, and they'll actually strap the astronauts in as well to their suits, so that way they get a feel for what it is like getting in and out of the vehicle
under different gravity environments.
Exactly.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me really quickly before we stood up, like some of the controls, right? I can
course.
see some different different stuff going on both sides here.
Yeah, so we did try to give the astronauts just a few different options, mainly just because in this first round of testing with the astronauts at Johnson Space Center, we just want them to tell us what they like, right? So we have two different handles, and these are kind of, a T-handle concept, but with our own spin and twist to them. You do have your emergency stop, so as you can see, hey, now it's safe to approach the vehicle. All right, now, use caution because the vehicle might be in movement. So this is, your parking brake, more or less.
Reminds me of a semi-truck.
Yeah,
like an air
exactly.
brake. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And then you have your displays and controls operations here, but also when you come around, you can actually see the switch panels and displays and controls. So this is your higher fidelity. These are actual functional switches that turn on and off the lights, let you.
And I have a different
winches.
arrangement here. So I have a screen here, and I have a different, switch panel here.
And we do that mainly just so the astronauts can tell us which one they like better, right? Like, is it more comfortable? Is it easier for them to reach when it's in the lower position? Is it better when they are using that handle? And that way we just get feedback early, right? We are trying to make this a astronaut-centric vehicle, so that way it's good, safe, and reliable, but also it's just comfortable. Like, it has to be comfortable if you're driving this thing around on the moon.
Because it's a stressful environment.
It is.
Let's be clear.
It's a dangerous environment.
Yeah.
I mean, temperature swings from negative 200 degrees to plus 200 degrees. It's a stressful environment. If you are in a rescue situation, you have to bring the astronauts back either to the rocket or to the habitats. So these astronauts are highly trained. They're incredibly smart people, but anything we can give them to make their lives easier is time well spent on the vehicle.
And so they can operate the vehicle here.
Yes.
But also, is there some autonomous function of this vehicle as well?
Yeah. So the cool part about the Lunar Terrain Vehicle Program is its number one priority is to provide safe, reliable transportation to astronauts on the moon, right? It's a space truck. But when astronauts aren't there, we can use this for commercial purposes. So we can do whatever we want with this vehicle on the lunar surface and do it fully robotically and do a lot of the stuff autonomously, which is pretty exciting.
Or maybe remote control also?
Remote control, yeah.
Like we're talking also?
Exactly.
Okay.
So remote control, you can build a lot of what we were talking about earlier. So the power, the comms, the habitats, a lot of that can be built without astronauts actually physically on the vehicle. And that allows humans to focus on what they're really good at, the creative problem solving, the strategy, the architecture. And this truck can do a lot of that infrastructure work by itself.
So this shows kind of the finished product, so to speak, including the Goodyear tires there.
Yeah, so this is what the Goodyear tires are going to look like. As I said, they're kind of a metallic woven structure that allows for very low maintenance, but very good traction and reliable.
You know what it reminds me of? It's like snow chains. Sometimes you can buy those thin snow chains that you could put over your tire.
Yeah.
It reminds, but lots of them kind of stacked together.
Exactly, and that allows, as I was saying a little bit earlier, just for really solid traction, but also just reliability. Because if you're thinking about it, your pneumatic tires, your air tires here on Earth, like that negative 200 degrees Celsius to plus 200 degrees Celsius, like those are not going to survive.
And no air pressure to support them, right?
Exactly, no air pressure. Yeah, there is no atmosphere on the lunar surface. So you need something like this, especially given the environment that you're in and how long you need these things to last.
And tell me about cooling the vehicle itself a little bit, because we talked about motors, batteries, they generate heat, right?
They generate, a lot.
How does that work?
So it's interesting on the lunar surface, you don't have air. So you can't do fan cooling, you can't do convection cooling. You have to really thermally couple your vehicle to deep space, and you do that through these radiators. So it really is a large material. You get special coating, everything from the color, and you have to have large amounts of radiator space. So what this does is thermally couple you to deep space, and that allows you to dissipate the heat. On the flip side, it also gets really cold.
Okay.
So you need to be able to have that control and those heaters distributed amongst the vehicle properly, and a few other kind of cool tips and tricks I won't talk about today that keep your astronauts safe and keep all of your critical components at the right temperature.
This is the life-size model of that arm we were just talking about.
Yeah, the robotic arm, it's very capable. This is what allows us to autonomously build that infrastructure on the moon and also allows us to interact with that environment. So everything from the habitats, communications, even launch and landing pads, having this robotic arm on our vehicle makes it a lot more capable.
And obviously it has different joints, so it kind of come out here,
Yep.
pick stuff up or put stuff in, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it can not only pick up small science instruments, but it can also pick up large cargo that is needed for those large-scale infrastructure projects.
I love pulling trailers, as you know. You have a hitch here. It looks like a 2-inch receiver. Tell me about requirements.
Yeah.
What do they have there?
So what's pretty cool about this vehicle, and it really is a space truck, right? You look at your heavy-duty trucks here on Earth, a lot of your features that you're familiar with, we're going to have on this truck. So while everything can be done with the NASA requirements in this vehicle itself, we did want to also make the option available if you need to tow larger payloads, whether they are large communication arrays, whether they are large solar arrays or power systems.
Or even maybe drag something, a little bit, right?
Or even, if you're pulling something else out of a crater, right? If there's a large, thing.
Piece of rock or material
a rock
or something.
material. Or if, let's say another vehicle gets stuck, you can use this tow hitch and actually get vehicles out no problem. So we haven't released the specs yet on exactly how much we're going to tow, but it will be a pretty sizable amount, for those infrastructure type projects.
Gotcha. I want to thank Justin and his team for, first of all, being generous with their time and also the information and all of the demos that I was able to witness here and actually put on this kind of a mock-up spacesuit and actually learn about the Eagle, this space truck. But this is not the end of the story. So what I really want to do is I want to continue this as a video series because, like Justin said, they're launching their first sort of miniaturized robotic rovers within a couple months, so very soon. And then whenever this comes online, I also want to, of course, drive it or see it moving. So that's coming up. We want to talk about what makes a great space truck good off-road, because Moon is the ultimate off-road, at least for now. And so this will be a series of videos coming up over the next several months or maybe even years. So stay tuned and check out ultfl.com for everything automotive in one place. And I'll see you next time.